For several decades of the 19th century, the Van Antwerp family ran a drugstore out of a small building on the corner of Royal and Dauphin Street. In 1906, they hired architect George B. Rogers to design an impressive office building for that corner, which would include space for their drugstore. The cost was $200,000, and it was Mobile's first real skyscraper at 10 stories, built on a steel frame. Now, the Battle House Hotel had burned in 1905, so fire was on everyone's mind. The building has a steel frame and is covered in terracotta, considered extremely fireproof for the time. The Van Antwerps put their drugstore on the ground floor, and office space was offered above. The only problem was, no one seemed to want to be above about the third floor. No one had been in a building this high before, and everyone was kind of frightened by it. So the owners approached their architect, George B. Rogers, and told them that they were having trouble renting out the upper floors. So George Rogers, as a capable architect and also wanting to keep his client happy, rented the top floor of the building and would have the top floor of the building until his death in 1945. The floors below him filled in quickly. All throughout the 1920s and 1930s into the 1940s, if you wanted to see your doctor in Mobile, Alabama, you went to the Van Antwerp building. Or if you wanted to see your dentist, that's where most of the dentists and doctors had their offices. And then the ground floor held Van Antwerp's drugstore, where you could go and have your prescription filled. Van Antwerp's drugstore was also the coffee shop of its day. Downtown business people met in the Van Antwerp lobby to have their coffee in the morning before going to their offices. The drugstore was sold in the 1960s, and then the building became vacant by the 1990s. It has been beautifully restored by RSA, who has cleaned the exterior terracotta and restored it to look like it did in 1908. They've also restored the cornice that was removed sometime in the 1940s. They're to be commended for an incredible restoration job.